Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us at this event. It's the first one of these that we've done, so fingers crossed everything will go to plan. A little bit of housekeeping before we start. As you can see on the screen, there's a couple of Twitter handles, the CloudW_support and CloudW_Dave. If you want to kind of message us on Twitter or whatever, you can do. Obviously, for the next couple of hours while I do this, I'm going to be a little bit busy, but I will get back to you. There's also a Q&A section on this event. If you hover over the icons, one of them will say Q&A, and you can ask us questions as this goes on. My name's Dave Taylor. I work for eServices, and also with me today we've got Chris Watterbeaky and Anton Martiri, who's going to be kind of monitoring the Q&A for us and keeping you up to date. Should point out I'm a little sort of coffee this morning. It's not what you think it is. It's purely down to hay fever. So I'll try and mute my mic if I have to have a cough and a splutter, but I do apologise if I do cough on the mic. So what we're going to look at this morning is Microsoft Teams. So I'll just get my screen ready, and apologies while this just looks a little bit strange as I set everything up. There we go. Okay, this is Microsoft Teams. What I'm looking at there is Microsoft Teams in the app. So you can download an app on your laptop. You can actually download an app also on your iPad, iPhone, Android tablet, or Android phone. It's what they call device agnostic. You can use it on pretty much anything. If you can't get the app, it's no worries. You can actually look at it through any device. Hello, folks. Welcome to the event. Hope you're well and everything's going okay. This is the first event that we've done. We're looking at Microsoft Teams today. So hopefully everything will go to plan and nothing will go wrong. One thing I should point out about Microsoft Teams in its current state, because of the influx of home workers and remote learners and whatever, Microsoft have had a massive upswing in demand on their servers. So they've limited certain things and they have reduced some of the functionality. Fingers crossed we'll see everything there, but they are turning things on and off. Please don't see that as a kind of condemnation of Microsoft. Their techies are working very, very hard to keep everything up and running, and they are just turning things on and off just purely for the server load. If we come across anything that doesn't work, that will be all it is. On the whole, it works very well. What Teams is, to let you know, is a way of you working and communicating remotely and working collaboratively as well. There's some real magic you can do here with collaborative working. Also, it's a great tool for when you're actually educating the students remotely. As you'll see, you'll be able to actually deliver lessons remotely and assign tests and assignments to them remotely as well. So I'm looking at Teams here in the app. So whatever device you've got, whether that be a laptop, an iPad, iPhone, Android device, Android phone, you can download an app for it for free. You can every app that you look at, it looks almost identical. There's a couple of little tweaks, but they've done a very good job of making it look very similar. If you can't get the app for whatever reason, then you can look at Teams through a web browser by just going to teams.microsoft.com, logging in with your school email address and password, and you'll get something that looks pretty much like what you're seeing on the screen now. There's a little bit of functionality taken away, but on the whole, for what you need it for, it'll be there. So it all is based around Teams. So as you can see, if we look down the left-hand side here, we've got a few little icons. Activity is like a notification window. So it's sort of your Facebook notifications or your Twitter notifications. Chat is one-on-one chats and those sort of things. You can also have small group chats, kind of like your WhatsApp messaging and that sort of thing. And then you've got Teams underneath. This is a list of all the teams that you're a member of. Then we've got some other things which we'll look at later. For now, we'll just click on Teams. Now, if you're a member of a team, it will actually show you all the teams that you're a member of there. This user that I'm logged in as does not have a team associated because that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create some teams. So I'm going to create a team and I'll just click on Create Team. We get 4 options. If you're setting up a team for your class, and we're going to do this at the second half of this session, probably about 11 o'clock-ish. If you're setting up a team for your class, you'll obviously go for class. For now, don't worry about PLC or other. We'll just go for staff. So we're going to be looking at, we've either got a staff team or a class team. So we'll go for staff. And we just need to give it a name. I'll call this staff team. Now, you can be a member of several teams. So if you are part of 2 different schools and you've got a finance team for each school, kind of make sure the name of the school is in the name of the team so you can identify which one's which. Keep the privacy to the default, private. Only team members can add members. It just keeps you nice and safe and secure. Click Next. Now what you need to do is start typing in the names of the people that you want to be in your team. Quite a clever system, this. All you need to do is type in their email address. However, I've got a kind of dummy pupil user here. So if I just start typing in her email address, so all I've got to do is start typing 11 Beatrice, and you'll see that her name actually pops up. So I haven't even got to fill the email address in. I click the name, it goes into the list, and then I click Add. I can add as many names as I want to there. And then with the staff team, we get an option there where they can be either a member or an owner. The owner is an administrator of the team. The member is just a normal user. Try to have at least 2 owners, just in case one of the owners loses access to the account or accidentally leaves the team, and it'll leave the team in limbo then. So try and have at least a couple of owners. But yeah, on the whole, everyone else will be a member. So we'll leave Beatrice as a member and click Close. And that's it, we're done. It's that easy. So, teams. Here's our staff team, and it's called staff team. And then we've got this thing here called general. These are channels. How you break the channels down is entirely up to you. You may have an SLT team, so you may in there want a channel for observations, for instance. You may want a channel for CPD, those sort of things. Everyone in the team can see everything in the channels. Channels are just a way of breaking things down by subject. You can make private channels, but until you're more au fait with Teams, I would advise against it, because you've obviously not only got to make those channels, you've also got to manage it when people start moving roles. So I just work on the assumption that anyone in the team can see all the channels. So because this is a staff team, I'm just going to create a new channel as well. So all I do is I click on the 3 little dots, add a channel, and we'll call this one CPD. And we can have pretty much as many channels as we want. There is a limit, but it's quite high. If we go back to the general channel, So as you can see, we can go between the channels as we want, but if we go to the general one, it all is based on conversations. So as you can see at the bottom, I've got start a new conversation. So if I just went hello, it'll go in. The latest conversation always appears at the bottom, and you'll see we've got a reply button there. What you'll also see, and this is where you need to be careful, is you've got start a new conversation at the bottom. I guarantee this will happen. If you do it, you won't be the first and you won't be the last. People go to reply to that conversation and click in the box at the bottom and start a new conversation. So if you need to reply, click on reply. What I have got here is Beatrice. I've got her in a web browser. So here I am logged in as Beatrice in a web browser, and you'll see there's the staff team that we've created. And if I click on that, go into general, you'll see school staff has said hello. So I can reply to that. Press enter and it sends it. If I go back, we can see that Beatrice has replied. So that's how it works. It's just a conversation. It's a WhatsApp chat. It's a Facebook Messenger chat. We're familiar with those. Couple of options. First of all, when we go in, when you reply, you type in your message and you hit enter and it gets sent. If you want to go to the next line, just for clarity, so I want to go line 1. If I press enter now, it will send line 1. If I press shift and enter, you'll see it goes down to the next line. So I can then leave a gap and line 2. So if you need that clarity, you can press shift and enter to go to the next line. What you can also do is we've got this button here called format. So if I click on there, you'll see it opens it up and it gives me a lot more options. If I press enter here, it will go to the next line. But I can also put things in bold, like so. As you can imagine, there are keyboard shortcuts for this as well. Control B, Control I for italic, Control U for underline, those sort of things. I can also put things in like bullet points, paragraphs. I can do quotes. I can put links in, those sort of things. So if you need a little bit more formatting in your message, you can put it in there. Problem is, of course, is when we press enter, it doesn't send the message, but there's this little paper aeroplane icon down the bottom, and if I click on there, it will send it. The other thing you'll find is as you hover over these messages, you get a list of icons in the top right. The 3 little dots is our kind of Office 365 generic. There are more options. There's a menu under there. So if I click on the 3 little dots, you'll see we've got a few options now. I can save the message. Now, if I save the message, if I click on my little icon at the top there, you'll see it says saved. It will go into there. You can use saving messages as a good way of doing a kind of a to-do list. So if someone asks you to do something, you could save the message, and then to see all the jobs that you've got to do, you've just got to look at your saved messages. I am an owner, so I'm logged in here as the school staff user. So even though I'm hovering over Beatrice's, I can delete that message. Normally, if you hover over your own message, you can edit it or delete it. Editing obviously is useful if you've made a typo, those sort of things. If you delete your own message, it will pop up on your screen, message has been deleted, and give you an undo option. For everyone else, it will just be blank. For an admin, you can delete anybody's message, just in case anyone puts anything that they shouldn't have in there. But for a normal user, you can only delete your own messages. A couple of other options I've got when I can get the menu to pop back up. I can mark that as unread. I can copy a link to it. So if I wanted to This happens sometimes in our team. Someone will have mentioned something, and it's kind of make a note of the link, because when you're referring to it later, you can say it's in this conversation and link to the conversation. I can actually share that in Outlook. Be careful doing that, obviously, because they're in a team for a reason. You need to make sure that you've got permissions to share whatever you are sharing in Outlook. Don't forget, it will go into an email. It will be unprotected. It's potentially going all over the internet. So obviously don't share in Outlook something that's got personal data in. This is a really powerful option. We've started using Teams with some schools with their parents, partly for this reason. I can click translate. So if my device was in Polish, for instance, and a teacher has put a big message up in English, I can click translate and it will translate it into Polish for me. I've also got this thing called Immersive Reader. I'm hoping this will work on my dual screens. It's going to work on my dual screens. Immersive Reader is something that you're going to see a lot more of in Microsoft technology. It's essentially for people who are visually impaired or have dyslexia. As you can see, it has put the message up. It's made it nice and wide, the lettering spaced out, the lines are spaced out, so this is all dyslexic friendly. I can actually go into my text preferences. I can change the size of the text. I've got 3 dyslexic friendly fonts, and I've also got the coloured overlays, which can be really useful for people with dyslexia. I can also hit the play button and it will play. It will actually say the words out for me. Other options I've got, if you're teaching, it's not going to come very well here, but you can click on the syllables and it will, as you can see, Monday. And then you can go on to your nouns, your verbs, your adjectives. Obviously, it's not going to show up very well with the message that we've got, but it gives you an idea. You can use this as a teaching tool. Like I say, you're going to see that more and more in Microsoft technology as time goes on. We've also got these little icons. It used to just be the thumbs up, but they've added a few more. The thumbs up can be a very useful one. If someone says, can everyone just have a look at this? And you give it the thumbs up to kind of say, yes, I've seen it, without you having to type in, I've seen this, and having lots of messages. You can just hit the thumbs up. You can also, when people make jokes, there's a little laughy, whatever. The options are there. So that's kind of sending messages. Now, if you think about it, this is kind of emails in a way. And one of the things Microsoft were trying to do with Teams was make it so that everything was in one place. They said it was a single truth and a single pane of glass. And what they mean by a single pane of glass is everything you need is there. You don't have to go, for instance, if you're working on a document, you don't have to go from your email to Word, from Word to your email, backwards and forwards. It's all here, and that's what I'll demonstrate now. So I'm just going to click on Files. It might just take a couple of little seconds to boot this one up. So we've got the tabs along the top here. Posts are your conversations, and then files are any files that you're sharing within that channel. People can sometimes get a little bit confused about this, so it's just worth spending a little bit of time on this. Every channel will have its own files section. So if you click on files, you will see the files that are in that channel. So anything anyone has shared will be there. If you go to your chat, which we'll look at in a bit, and you click on files there, it's any files you've shared within those chats with people. But there's also this link down the side here, which is files. Now, this one down the side is any files that you have access to across all of your teams and all of your chats. What sometimes happens is people have shared something in a chat, which is just for 2 people to look at and has got personal information in of a child. They'll click on the files here on the left-hand side. They'll see it along with all the other files that they've shared across all their teams, and they'll worry that, oh, have I shared this to too many people? No. So the files on the left-hand side is just the files that you can see across all your teams. It's the files tab at the top of either the channels or the chat, which are the ones that are only got limits in there. So as you can see, I can upload a file directly from my computer, or I can click on new and I can do folder, so I can start breaking things down, or I can from here do a Word document, an Excel workbook, PowerPoint, OneNote, or a form. I'm going to do a Word document for now, and we'll just put meeting minutes, because we'll always end up having to share some meeting minutes somewhere, and I'll click create. So you'll see that what this has done, and this is one of the things where Microsoft are turning this on and off as server load gets too much, but you'll see this is now opened up in a stripped down version of Word. You'll notice I've not left Teams. I'm still in Teams, but I'm now using Word. So I'll just put minutes of meeting, and I'll just close that for now. So you'll see I've now got that as a file, and I could have uploaded that from my own computer or whatever. If I now go back to posts, I want to share that with the team. Now, they could click on files and they would see it, but I want to highlight that. So what I can do is I could start a new conversation. I'll click on the format button, because when you do a new conversation, you get a couple of options. One of them is a subject. So meeting, minutes. Can you check these, please? And then I'm going to attach a document. Clicked it twice there. So I can, again, from here, I don't have to go into the files first if I don't want to. I can upload from my computer. If you use OneDrive, this will attach to your OneDrive, does it automatically. So I could upload from my OneDrive. Again, if you use OneDrive, you can go to recent and it will show you any recent documents you've been working on. Or I can go to browse teams and channels, and there's my minutes, and I'll share a link, and I'll click send. If we go back to Beatrice, just have to bring this onto this screen. You'll see the latest conversation is coming at the bottom. I'll just dismiss that. So as Beatrice, I can now click on meeting minutes. And you'll see there's the document. Now, normally, I'm looking at this through the web browser, remember, as the other user. Normally, this opens up directly in the stripped down version of Word. Again, for server load, they've just limited that slightly. We've got some options here. I can open it in the desktop app. I can download the file, but obviously be careful if you do that, because you're just downloading a copy of the file as it is at that moment. Or I can click edit, and it will open in a web browser. As I say, what will happen when the server loads are reduced is it will just come up in a stripped down version of Word within Teams. And Beatrice can add things to this document. If I now go back to my team, so I'm now logged on as a staff user, and I look at that document. Again, I need to edit it. 1 second, it's opened in another window. Okay, it's opened in another window and I can't bring it onto the screen. Again, it's all down to server loads. So you'll see that earlier on it went in with the stripped down version, and now it hasn't. But as you can see, Beatrice's addition has gone into there. When you're actually working on this together, you can see the other person typing. So you'll actually see the icon. There'll be a little line with their initials. And as they type, it will appear on your screen. Very difficult to kind of show you that when I'm only doing it myself, but you get the idea. You'll notice when Beatrice typed that in, when I typed in the minutes of the meeting, I didn't have to click save. It saves it automatically. So there's none of that, oh, I didn't save it for the last 20 minutes. I've lost the last 20 minutes of work. It saves it automatically as it goes on. You may think, well, if we do that when we're working collaboratively on a document, if someone catastrophically destroys the document, selects all and delete, we've lost everything. But because this is all based on a SharePoint site, it's actually a SharePoint site that runs behind Teams, there's full version histories of the document. So you can go back to any previous version. Now, to me, this kind of sells Teams, because if you go back to how you would have worked previously, you'd have written the file, you'd have written the file in Word, opened your email, attached that file to an email, sent it to 15 people who would have all then had to open their email, download the file, open Word, go into Word, do their changes, attach it to another email, send it back to you. You've then got to collate all these 15 changes. It's a nightmare. Whereas this, everyone is working on the latest version of the document, which is what they mean when they say it's a single truth. So single pane of glass, everything in one place, server load being what it is, and a single truth, it's always the latest version of the document. To me, that should sell Teams on its own. It's a brilliant way of collaboratively working. We have had kind of Excel spreadsheets where there's been 25 people working on it at the same time, and it works wonderfully. It's great. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds while I just have a swig of some water. If you need to make some notes, please make some notes. Chris, Anton, is everything going okay your end? There is a kind of 10 to 20 second delay between me saying anything and you hearing it. Okay, wonderful. We'll continue. Whether you want to start a new conversation or whether you're replying, you'll notice you've got these icons along the bottom. And just to show, you get the same icons when you're replying as well. When I do a training session for staff, this is the bit where I have a break for 10 or 15 minutes, because emojis, yes, there are some emojis. Yes, some of them are animated, for instance, and just send that. And there are stickers. They keep adding to these as well. If you're an administrator, you can turn emojis and stickers off. We'll just send that one for now, just to show you what it looks like. You can turn these off. They're a bit silly. You need to decide whether that's a good thing or not. Sometimes, you know, we need to have a little bit of fun, don't we? One of the things in stickers as well, which is always quite popular if we scroll down, is the meme. And what you can actually do is click on one of the pictures and you can change the captions. Always good for a bit of fun on a Friday afternoon. I'll just give you a second, because if there's people following along, they're now going absolutely wild, putting loads of emojis and stickers into things. Okay, another option. Next icon along is Meet Now. So, excuse me, hay fever. I can click that there or in the new conversation. It takes me to the same place. So, this will pop up. You'll see a black screen. That's because there's a sticker over my webcam. I haven't done my hair. There you go. That's why. we're being private. I can type in a subject and click Meet Now. What will then happen is that this will open a meeting for anyone in that team. Everyone else will see that a meeting has started and they'll see a big join button. You click join and you can all go in and have a conversation, be that audio, video, or both. At the moment, and I'm actually saying at the moment, it could have changed this morning. If you've got a lot of people in the chat, you will see the webcams of the last 4 people to speak on the main screen. Everyone else's will be there, but you'll just see the 4. They are changing that to 9, so you'll see 9 webcams at a time. These meetings are wonderful. They work so well, and particularly when we're all stuck at home and we can't get out and about and we need to maintain social distancing. It's a brilliant way to not only conduct meetings, but also to just feel connected to people. A lot of people are moving over to other third-party video conferencing apps. If you want to do that in your personal life, that's fine. What we have to remember working in schools or councils or whatever is we are bound by GDPR to protect the data that we have. And if you sign up to a third-party app, you don't know where the data is being stored and who has access to it or anything like that. So you may be in breach of GDPR if you start doing work things on one of the third-party apps. This is why we're advising you to use Teams, because we know it's stored in the EU, it's safe, it's protected, and it's all up to compliance on GDPR. So yes, if you're having a meeting about work, even if it's just a little bit, then please move it onto Teams and use the Meet Now function. What you can also do is if you click on your calendar icon down there, you'll see there's the actual Teams live event that we're doing now. You can schedule a meeting for some point in the future. So we'll just go through this because there's actually a really useful little feature here. So I want the meeting between 10:30 and 12 tomorrow. If you've ever set up meetings in Outlook, this screen will look very familiar to you. So we'll just say meeting 10:30 till 12, 21st of April. I can attach that to a channel if I want. I can attach it to a location. You probably won't have any location set up, but what you can do if you get into this, you can actually set up rooms to be locations, and then people can't actually double book rooms and things like that. Can also add required attendees. So again, if I add Beatrice, oops, the eye out. Now you'll see it now says suggested. Both the staff user I'm logged in as and Beatrice have not got anything in their calendars. But what this actually does, if people keep their Outlook calendar up to date, this interrogates the calendar, whether you have share access to it or not, and tries to find a mutually agreeable time when you've got that amount of time free. So if Beatrice was busy between 10:30 and 12, but she was free between 2 and 3:30, this would say 1400 to 15:30. And it works brilliantly. And if you imagine when you're adding different people, and you've got 5 or 6 people, those emails that used to go around, can we meet on Thursday? And 5 people say yes, 1 can't. And then there's these emails backwards and forwards. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? If everyone keeps their calendar up to date, you don't need to do any of that. You just set the amount of time you want the meeting to last for, invite all the people, and it will find a mutually agreeable time. Are we all doing okay so far? Good. Right. Another thing we have, So along the top here, we've got posts, files, and a staff notebook. First time we click on staff notebook, it will do a little bit of whirring and it will say you need to set one up. Gives me an option. I can set one up from an existing notebook or a blank notebook. We'll go for a blank. It then gives us, it then gives us three options, three things it's going to create. It's going to create a collaboration space. So, collaboration space, anyone in that team can see it, add to it, edit it, and delete things. It's kind of, it is a collaboration space, but it can also be seen as kind of a dumping ground. And obviously don't put the only copy of something that you've got in the collaboration space because it can be easily deleted. You then have a content library. So it's saying there the staff leaders, which they mean the owners, can put things in there and edit things, and everyone else can only view it. And then you have private notebooks. So here, the staff owner can edit it, and each member will have their own private notebook. So the staff leader can see everybody's notebook, but each staff member will only see their own. That'll kind of make sense in a second. So if I click next, it then gives me some options of sections that we can have in the staff notebook. Now, imagine the staff notebook is your lever arch file that you used to have with your dividers in. These are the names you'd put on the dividers, essentially. So those kind of make sense. And I click create. It usually takes a few seconds. It gives me time to have a little bit of a swig of water. There we go. So this is something called OneNote. Some of you may have heard of OneNote, some of you may not. We have got some videos on our YouTube channel about OneNote. OneNote is essentially the best lever arch file you'll ever have. I'll be honest, it can sometimes take just a little switch going in your head to get your head around OneNote. I was tatting around with it for about a year. And then it was literally, there was just like a switch went in my head and it was, oh, this is brilliant. And I use OneNote all the time now. So as you can see, there's our collaboration space. And it kind of tells us, these are the sections, and you can see these pages. There's our content library. So you can actually see it's breaking it all down. And then because I'm a staff owner, I can see Beatrice's personal OneNote notebook. And if there were other members of the team, they would all be listed down there. But Beatrice would only see the content library, the collaboration space, and her notebook. That's the kind of difference. I'm not going to go too much into OneNote because we could do another session on OneNote. It's massive. I am going to talk a little bit in OneNote in the second half of this presentation because we're going to look at class teams and setting assignments for pupils, and OneNote can come in very useful for that. But yeah, for now, it is there. You can use it. We've also got this plus. So again, if we just go to the CPD channel, you'll see I've got the posts, files, and notes. Notes is slightly different to the staff notebook. This is notes for the CPD. It won't give you the same options. It's just kind of a blank notebook. But you'll also see we always get this plus. So what I can do here is add a tab. These are the tabs along the top. And you'll see I've got lots of options. If there's a Word document, for instance, that you're using a lot, yes, you'd post a link to it in a conversation. Yes, people could go in there and work on that. However, as you can see, the newest conversation always comes in at the bottom. You'll get lots of conversations each day. it was something that happened 4 days ago and people have got to kind of scroll up and try and find it, or they can use the search bar at the top. If it's something everyone's using regularly, you could add a Word document as a tab. So it's there as a tab at the top of the channel, ready to go. You literally click on it and you're in Word and you can work on that document. You'd see there we can add OneNote notebooks, forms, Excel spreadsheets, document libraries. One of the popular uses for this is websites, particularly if you've got something like a CPD channel and you've got links to online CPD courses. You could actually put that as a tab, the website, and people can work on it within Teams. You've also got all these things down here, more tabs. There are all sorts of add-ons that you can put into Teams. I'm not going to go into a great deal of, well, I'm not going to go into any detail because, again, we could spend hours just on this. There may be some things there that you notice and go, oh, so I can actually add a Nearpod tab there. Oh, okay. If you use these kinds of services, it can be really useful. You know, if you have got things on Asana, for instance, I know a lot of organizations use Asana for task management. And although you can do that within Office 365, if you're using something like Asana for that, you've got the option of adding it in as a tab. So how are we doing? We're doing really well. Okay. The other thing is, as I say, these conversations can be scrolling up and up and up, and you could easily get something lost. So if you want to make sure that someone has seen something, you can do what they call a mention. So there's only myself and Beatrice in this team, but you can imagine that some teams have got hundreds, some cases thousands of members. And if you want to highlight one particular person, I'm starting a conversation and I want to make sure that Beatrice sees this conversation. So what I can do is I can type in the @ button like you do in an email. What it will do is it will give you a list of people in your team. Now, obviously, because there's only Beatrice, she's there. She's the first and only one. But you can imagine if you've got hundreds of people, it'll give you the people you usually communicate with. But if the person's name isn't in the list, you can just start typing their name down. And as you can see, I'm typing Beatrice and she's there. I click on her name and it goes blue. You need to see this. And then if I go back to Beatrice, just need to close that. Again, please don't see this as a condemnation of Word. Oh, 1 second. I'm logged in as, that's the team. There we go. Right. Here we go. If I go back to Beatrice, there we go. Sorry, make sure I look at the right one. If I look at the activity window, you'll have noticed there was a little 1 there, and it says, school staff mentioned you. It will show her the actual message. If you click on it, it will take you there, and you'll see there is this big red circle with an @ next to it. That's to say, Beatrice, you really need to see this. So you can mention people. What you can also do is you can mention the whole team. So if I start typing in staff, you'll see I've got their staff team. See this. And you'll see that it's been replaced with a little group icon there. But if I go back here, you'll see in my activity, it says Beatrice has replied and says, staff team, you need to see this. And I've got the little red symbol there. So you can mention individual people or you can mention the entire team. Mentioning the staff team is kind of like saying, hey, everyone, look at this. There's an awful lot more to Teams than that. There are things called bots, which you can get to do various tasks for you. We can set up polls, we can do lots of collaboration and that sort of thing, but I don't want to kind of blow your mind. If you're interested in doing this, then please rest assured this isn't a kind of one-off thing. I don't do this and then we all run off and hide. We are available. So please, if you need some help, let us know and we will give you help. When you set up your staff team, and we advise you set it up with staff first, that's kind of worked in most places. It's very important that if you set up a staff team, you invite all the staff, you set up your channels. If your staff then immediately go back to using Outlook and email, then it's not going to work. I'm not saying Teams is total replacement for email, because obviously if you've got outside contractors who don't use Teams, you still use email. Teams is kind of internal, although we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. It's to replace your email for all of your internal communication. It's to replace your email for all those file sharings that you do. If you're at a school and you've got the T drive, if you imagine, anything on the T drive could go into the team, and it means you have access to it from wherever you have Wi-Fi, be that at the school or at home. Obviously, at the moment, your T drive is only accessible when you're in school. So if you're sharing things, share it through Teams. It's accessible anywhere and on any device. So yes, that's kind of where we're going with this. But if you set up your team and you continue using Outlook, then it's not going to work. You kind of need, as a group, to say, right, from Monday, we're moving over to Teams. There will be a couple of little hiccups. You'll probably Tuesday morning be going, oh, how do I do this? Oh, I need to email this. Oh, no, I've got to do it in Teams. And there'll be a couple of little stutters, but I guarantee by Thursday, you will not go back. It'll be the best move that you make. Just want to go through a couple of other things that we can do. If you click on the three little dots next to the name of the team, you can manage the team. And first page it will take you to will give you a list of all your owners and all your members. So you can see that there, Beatrice is a member. I can click on the little drop down and I could make her an owner if I wanted to. If I click on the cross, she will be removed from the team. If you're an owner and you need to remove another owner from the team, you have to demote the owner to a member first. So change them to a member. They'll go down into the members and guests section, and then you can delete them. You'll notice this says members and guests. One of the things that came up in our Q&A, when you add a member, when I type in, so I'll type in another one of our dummy accounts. So if I go Violet, there's Violet Boomer, she pops up. This is because they're all within our tenancy. So when you set up email addresses for your pupils, when other staff members at your school or any of the other schools we support, they'll pop up in that list. If you've got someone outside the organisation and you want to bring them into the team, what you can do is type in an email address. So if we just put a kind of dummy email address in here, it will pop up, add that email address as a guest. The way this works, let's say they've got a Gmail account or a Yahoo account or just their own kind of @joelblogs.co.uk account. It will send them an email saying you've been invited to join this team. Click the link. I'll click on the link. It needs to make it secure. So the way it makes it secure is it invites them to create an account. And when they create an account, it creates them a Microsoft account in the background. So they don't kind of see that happening, but it does create them a Microsoft account, and that keeps everything secure. What will then happen is it will say under your team, this team has guests. Guests will be in the members list, and again, you can do the same. You can kick them out if you need to, but you can invite guests in from outside. There may be a couple of maybe a couple of little problems getting some people in, particularly if they're on strange email addresses. But you'll find that as you go through it, it will work out. Pending requests, you can set teams up so that there's a join code, and then if anyone puts the join code in, it comes into here. I wouldn't advise that with schools until you're much more au fait with how this works. Channels, so as you can see, I've got all the channels there, and I can add more channels. I can actually tick the box to say that it will show for members when there's a lot of channels. It will kind of only show the first 4 or 5. If you tick that box, it will force it to be shown in the list. When I say it shows the first 4 or 5, there is then a more button. Click on the more button, it shows you all. But if you just want to make sure everyone can see it, just tick the box. We've then got various settings for our team. So we've got our team picture, and you can upload your own picture. As you can see, you can now really start to go in and lock the team down. Are you going to allow members to create and update channels? For instance, you may want to untick that. Allow members to create private channels. So this is what I was talking about earlier. You can create a channel which is private. So again, it's probably a good idea to tick that. You can go down these, allow members to delete and restore. If it's staff, then you're usually okay, but it's worth just going down there and checking. Guest permissions. So anyone that you're inviting as a guest, it gives them separate permissions, and as you can see, it's turned off the updated channels. The mention, so that's the @ symbol and the person's name. You can actually turn that off if you wanted to. There's the join code. You can generate the join code there. Fun stuff. Are you going to allow the stickers and emojis? It's up to you. You can manage the notebooks, and you can also do this thing called tags. We haven't really seen any schools embrace that, so let's not worry about it too much. Analytics gives you an idea of how many people have been using what. And then apps, bots, those sort of things, you can add them to your team, and it gives them permissions. This is kind of like if you give some game the option to share some things on your Facebook wall, you have to give it permissions. And it's the same that if you add an app. So if you added that Asana app, for instance, you'd have to give it permissions. That would be in here, and you can obviously click the bin and remove that permission if you want to. If I click on the 3 little dots next to the channels, you'll see that I can actually manage the channel as well. So I can actually say anyone can post messages, anyone can post, show an alert that the posting will notify everyone, and only owners can post. And again, you get the analytics for that channel. So moving on, that's Teams. We also have the chat window. I will just pull this over to the other page for now, just because I don't know what that is going to be. That's okay. Come back to this page. So these are chats. Teams, obviously, you've got this big group of people working together. If you wanted to work or share or collaborate with one person on a document, you can do that in a chat. So if I click on the little icon at the top, which is new chat, all I need to do is start typing in the name of the person that I want to chat with. So I can say Beatrice. And then you'll see that I can just start typing messages just like I would in a normal team. I've got the same icons at the bottom. I can, again, attach documents. I've got the files tab as well at the top. It works just like the team does, but it's just between two people. As I say, anything you share here is just shared between the people in the chat. Another thing you can do is, as well as having chats with one person, you could have a group chat. So if I go for Violet, and then I just carry on typing names. So if I type in Beatrice, and I can add up to, I think it's 80 people in the chat. It may even be 256 now. And then anything you send in that chat is for, you'll actually see that's been disabled. That's because the account I'm logged in on. Don't worry, that won't happen for you. Anything you send in that chat will go to all those people. Any files you share can be shared between all those people. So a little small group of people working on something, rather than having your own team, it might be better to just do it in a chat. The other option you've got, so if we look at the top here, I've got the video camera, which is a video call. I've got the telephone handset, which is the audio call. These are literally voice and video chats with these people that you're in a conversation with. One button and it'll go. It's brilliant when it's on a mobile device. So you just need to have a quick chat with someone and you can't find them. Just hit them on the video or audio call. And if they're wandering around the building and connected to Wi-Fi, it's brilliant. If they're on a mobile phone and they're out and about and using their data, it won't let them do the video call to save their data, but it will let them do the audio call. This next icon is very useful. I can't actually show it in action because I'm sharing my desktop already with the Teams live event. But if you click on that, it's screen sharing. So if I click on that, I will share my screen with the people I'm in this chat with. When I actually have a meeting within Teams as well, or if I've set a meeting up in my calendar, anyone can share their desktop. When you click on it, it asks you what you want to share. You can either share a particular application. So if you've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, a web browser open, but you only want to share the screen with Word on, you can just say, I want to share Word. The way I'm set up today is I've got my laptop and I've got a second screen and I am sharing the second screen. So you can actually share the screen, whatever's on the screen, or you can just share everything that's kind of going on. What you can also do, and we always try and tell staff in schools about this, and anyone who's had problems in the last couple of weeks since we've been on lockdown will probably have been asked to do this. You can share your desktop, and along the top here it will say presenting, and there will be a box that says give control. When you tick on give control, it will be a list of people that you're currently sharing with. You could click on one of their names and an icon will appear on your screen that they can control, and it's got their little picture by it, so you know who it is, and they can operate your computer remotely. So we've been using this as a way of doing remote support since we've been in lockdown, and it's an incredibly useful feature. And if you've got a kind of major problem when we all go back to how things were, if you've got a bit of a major problem but your technician isn't on site, you could message them through Teams, share your desktop, and then give them control, and they can actually fix your problem for you. So that's chats, that's Teams. Like I say, we've got the assignments, which we'll look at in the second half in a bit, and then we've got the calendar, which we've already looked at. That's kind of our rundown for now. There is a hell of a lot more to Teams than just this. But I don't want to kind of blow your mind too much. We have got some videos on our YouTube channel, which I will post up on my Twitter when this is over. And this live event will be available as a video, both if you look at the calendar invite in a couple of hours, it'll be there, or alternatively, we'll upload it to our YouTube channel as well. So that's essentially Teams. Now, my understanding is that some people were here for a kind of overview of Teams, in which case hopefully that's enough for you to be getting on with. And then other people were here to also see class Teams and setting up assignments. So that's what I'm going to do next. We'll just take a kind of little breather for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go into that. So if you're not working in a school, the next bit's for schools only, really. You're more than welcome to stay, of course, but if you don't want to, that's fine. You can go. Oh, pollen. So, this hay fever's driving me crazy. Okay, let's go. So we want to set up a class team. I'm going to use Beatrice as our kind of guinea pig for this as well. So join or create a team. So all I've done there is I've clicked on Teams. You'll notice I was in my team, but I can click on all teams there. It will give me a list of all the teams that I'm a member of, and I can join or create a team. So I'm going to create a new team, and I'm going to create a class. We'll say this is year 6. So unlike before where we just had one box to kind of add everyone, we've got a couple of options now. Students is where it goes to by default. So we can add Beatrice as a student there and add. You'll see I can't change her to anything now. That's because we have another tab there for teachers. That's a little bit of a misnomer. It's not just teachers. This is essentially the adults in the room. So if you add your TAs to here, you would put them in as a teacher. If you've got kind of contractors coming in who are working with the kids and it was safe to do so, you could add them into here as a guest, those kind of things. So yeah, teachers are kind of like supervising adults, and then students are the students. I'll click close, and we're back to where we were. So with the channels, again, this is entirely up to you. Some schools will do a channel for each subject. Others, you may be in a school with 3 year 6 classes, and you may have a channel for each class. It's up to you how you work it. I've just had a little message pop up from Chris. Did we cover meetings? Yes. Yeah, so it's worth mentioning this. You are right, Chris, it is worth mentioning this. Certain features in Teams for students are disabled by default if you are being supported by eServices. If your Office 365 is supported by another provider, they may not. You can control things at a kind of top level. One of the things we have turned off for students is the chat. It's to stop them having one-on-one chats with each other. It's potentially a bullying situation. It could happen. That's up to you. If you want that opening up, it can be opened up. If you want it closed down, it can be closed down. It's one of the things we have to bear in mind when we're using things like Teams with students. It's just, is there a potential for them using it to bully or harass someone in the class? So yeah, the chat is turned off by default by us for students, and students can't create teams, for instance. Students can't start meetings within the teams and that sort of thing. And there is a kind of, or there used to be a kind of way around all that of creating a calendar event, and we've kind of disabled that as well. So yeah, it's always worth bearing in mind that obviously you bring students onto here, you don't know what they're going to do. And we'll have another chat about that in a second as well. So yeah, how you break the channels down is entirely up to you. but it's exactly the same. So I can type a message here, and if I go back to Beatrice in her activity, you'll see she's been added to the Year 6 class, and there we are in the Year 6 class. Hi, and we can do all the things that we did before. We can attach documents, we can work on those documents collaboratively if we wanted to, emojis, stickers, and yes, you can hit the join now, the meet now, and the pupils can join, and you can deliver a class remotely. One thing worth bearing in mind, again, I can't show you this because of me using a Teams live event. I don't want to break anything, but if I click meet now and go into a meeting, there's a red hang up button. If you hang up from a meeting, so you're doing a lesson for the students, you click meet now, they all come in, you click hang up, the students are still in that meeting and they are talking, and they could be doing anything. There's 3 little dots as you kind of move the mouse around when you've got a meeting and you've got your webcam open. There's 3 little dots, and if you click on the 3 little dots, you get a menu, and one of those options is end the meeting. If you're a teacher and you're delivering a lesson through a meeting, make sure you end the meeting, not just click the hang up button. Okay. I am in the next couple of days going to put something on our YouTube channel about that. But yes, you need to make sure you end the meeting. Other options you've got, if you're having a meeting, whether this is in the full teams or as a class, and you put your webcam on, you do get an option in those 3 little dots to blur your background. So if you've got a pile of dirty washing behind you, or whatever, kids are gonna, your kids are gonna walk in behind you, and it's all gonna be a bit embarrassing. You can blur your background. They've just brought in a new feature as well where you can actually do background replacement, and it's almost like you're on a green screen and it changes your background to something else. So again, if you just want that little bit of privacy, if you're working from home, it's there. Other options that we have, which look a bit different from when we were working on the staff team, is we've got this upload class materials. Now it's a little bit of a misnomer, because as you can see, we're in the posts tab. If I click on upload class materials, it simply moves me to the files tab. That's all. I was going to say there's usually a folder pops up for class materials. So you can start putting things in there. Just the same, you can make new folders or whatever. What I'm going to do is create a little test for now. So I'll do a new Word document. Again, I could upload this, or when I actually set the assignment, which I'm going to do in a bit, I can upload it when I set the assignment. But I'm just going to do it this way. New Word document, Friday afternoon test. Who doesn't love a test on a Friday afternoon? Good. It's opened in the stripped down version of Word, so I can go question 1, question 2, close. So what I want to do is set an assignment to the pupils. I want to give them that Friday afternoon test. So if I click on assignments, get started, because there are no assignments set, and I want to create an assignment. I can do a quiz. Quizzes work off Microsoft Forms. So I could have done this Friday afternoon test as a quiz. The reason I'm doing it as an assignment is I've got a few more things I can do, which is what I want to show you. So yeah, we'll do assignment. So Again, it looks like we're doing a calendar invite almost. So we can say it's a Friday afternoon test. I can then enter the instructions. Please answer the questions in the attached Word document. I can then add resources. So this is where it kind of gets clever. It goes directly to my OneDrive. So I can attach something from my OneDrive. I can attach something from the team. So to the Year 6 team, documents, it was general, and there's the Friday afternoon test. So I can attach that. Now you'll see it says students can't edit. The first time you do this, it usually pops up with a little warning there to say, just to let you know, you're setting this up. Students can't edit this. Do you know that? Obviously, if it's just something they need to read, they don't need to edit it. But if you click on the three little dots, you can click, see there, the option is students edit their own copy. This is where it gets really clever. So students edit their own copy. I can add some more resources. If I've got a website I want them to go to, I can click on link, put the website address in, and then the text I wanted to display. I can create a new file, Word document, PowerPoint, Excel. I can upload any file I wanted to the team. So if I wanted to share a smart notebook, for instance, I could upload that. If there were some pictures that were referencing, Victorian era costumes, those sort of things, you could upload those. If you use the make code, you can actually attach make code there as well. But for now, that's all we need is just the Friday afternoon test. There's then points. How many points do I want to assign to this? So we'll say it's 100. I'm not sure if rubrics are actually used in UK schools, but it is there. I can upload one or I can do a new one. And for those that don't know, the rubrics are those where you have an excellent, a good, a fair, a poor, and you set out what you have to do to get those. I can then decide which students get assigned that. Now, there's only one student in the team, so it's irrelevant. But what I can do normally if there's lots of students is click on that there. I get a list of all the students and I can just pick the ones that I want to be given that assignment. And then I'll set the due date. So for anyone watching this on YouTube in the future, I recorded this on the 20th of April. So it automatically sets the due date to the next day, 1 minute before midnight. I could obviously set that, click on it, I'll get the calendar, I can set it to whenever I want. Assignments will be posted immediately with late handings allowed. So if I click edit there, I get some more options. I can schedule the assignment. So I could spend a day in the holidays setting out all my assignments and assign them for dates in the future, and I'm done. I can then set the due date and the close date. So if you put the close date in, it means that the late handings are not allowed. It's kind of, you have to get it in by then or you've failed. And that's it. I'll click assign. If we go back to Beatrice, usually takes a couple of seconds to pop up. There you go. So you'll see she's just got a little notification there to say you've got an assignment. There it is in her notifications, and view assignment. There is the Friday afternoon test. All Beatrice has to do is click on it. Again, it's opened in the stripped down version of Word, but I could, we'll see if this will go in the browser. Yes, it will. So Beatrice can go down and answer question. Again, you'll see there, it says at the top saving, it will get there. It's just ticking out. There we go. It goes to saved. Close. And then she can leave that and come back to it a couple of hours later if she wants to and do some more work. Or she could say, I'm done, and click hand in. Gets an animation. There's lots of fun animations there, actually. It's quite nice. The kids will like that. And then if I, as the member of staff, now look at the assignments, you'll see I've got here to mark 1 because Beatrice has handed it in, and marked none because I haven't marked any yet. So if I click on there, you'll see I've got Beatrice's name, and I'm now looking at Beatrice's document. She hasn't had to save that as a different file name and send it to me, and I haven't had to download it. It's all in one place. It's wonderful. If I've got 30 students, I can use the arrow buttons to go to the next student or the previous student. I can now edit this document if I want to, either in the browser or in the app. If you've ever used comments, for instance, you can highlight it and create a new comment and say why they need to work more on this or whatever. Or I could just give some general feedback. Give us some points, 50, and return. And it'll say, I've marked it and I've returned it to her. If we go back to Beatrice, you'll see it will say assignment's been returned. It will show my feedback, my points. She can now work on that a bit more and hand it in again. Just need to go off the page to come back in, if you know what I mean. There we go, view assignments. And again, it's to mark. She's worked a bit more on it. She's got a higher mark. And I can close it. I don't need to return it. I'm happy with that. Or you can return it and just keep bouncing it backwards and forwards if you want to. I can then see that Beatrice has got 75. It's handed in. I can then click export to Excel. So you imagine when this assignment's over, I've got all the pupils there. They've hopefully all handed it in. They've all got a mark. They've all got some feedback. You can export that to Excel and it will export all that information, the mark, the feedback, when it was handed in, all those sorts of things. If I click on grades, you'll see now that what I will get over time, obviously, I would have all the pupils down there, all their assignments and all their marks, export to Excel, and that's my mark book. So I haven't got to maintain another mark book. It's all done for me. So that's kind of the assignments in Teams. And again, just like with the collaborative working that we looked at in the first half, to me, that kind of sells Teams in the classroom. One thing we obviously need to talk about is this only works if your pupils have access to the internet. Now, again, Teams is device agnostic, so there is an app available for Windows, Mac, even Linux, and you've also got apps on all the mobile devices. Or if they've just got a device with a web browser, so if they just had a Chromebook, they could look at it through the web browser as well. But obviously there are some kids who will not have internet access at home or will have patchy internet access at home. You obviously need to judge that and work that out, particularly in the current climate when we're all social distancing and working from home. You don't want to exclude any kids really from their teaching because they haven't got internet access and they can't even go to a local library at the minute. So that's something you need to be aware of and just manage as a school. But if you have got a school where everyone's got internet access and everyone's got a device, like I say, even if it's just a mobile phone, they can actually work and do assignments and that sort of thing. It might be worthwhile just finding out what devices they're working on, because if a child is doing an English assignment on a mobile phone or a tablet, it's different to doing it on a laptop, particularly with things like autocorrect. So they may type words in and it autocorrects to something else and they don't notice it, and you've got to kind of take that into account as well. But this is a great system for the kids and for you to get the work to them and to feed back to them. Have another drink. That is essentially what I wanted to go through with teams, both for a kind of general staff team and for a class team. I'm just looking over at the other laptop that I've got at the chat. Chris, Anton, have we got any questions that I need to cover? Give them a couple of seconds to type that in. And I think we're about done, folks. I hope that's been useful for you. This is the first one of these that we've done. There was a little glitch with the microphone earlier, but you know, these things will happen. Hopefully you found that useful. Like I say, do not think that because we've done this, we're going to kind of run away and not help you at all. Will do, Chris. Thank you. I've just got a little note there. Yes, we're not going to kind of leave you and kind of scrambling around in the dark. If you need some help, please get in touch. We will help you as much as we can. Couple of notifications that we've got. Could you explain that a meeting can be published? Excuse me. Yeah, so what you can do if you are if you've got a class team and you want to say, right, 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, we're going to do a science lesson. I will present it from home. Students, please be online if you can be. You can publish that as a meeting to your class team, and the children will get that in their calendar, and they've just got to click join now from the calendar and it will go through. So that's okay. Oh, right. We have some polls. So if you go to, this is just basically to help us out so we can get this right and make any changes that we need to. If you go to twitter.com/eServices, that's E capital S services _WTON. Chris, could you also get that put up on the Cloud W support one as well for me, please? Because that one's on the screen. Or if you go to facebook.com and look for the eServices Wolverhampton page, we've got a couple of polls on there just to see how you found this live event, whether we should do any more and what we should do those on. Thank you very much. I'm really suffering with my hay fever now. I think you've had enough of listening to me. I hope you've got enough to be going on with. I'll leave the stream up for about 10 minutes. So if you need to get a pen and just make notes of the Twitter handles or whatever, please do so. A recording of this event will be on the calendar invite. If you attach this to the calendar, or if you follow the link on the eServices.co.uk/events page, come back into here. There will be a download available for you of the event. We had a couple of people ask about captioning. My understanding is that the video, which will be available afterwards, will have captioning on. What we will also do is make a copy of this event available on our YouTube channel, and we'll put links to that on our Twitter page and on the eServices.co.uk/events page as well. Thank you so much for giving up your time to listen to me talk about Teams. Hopefully you found that useful, and fingers crossed we'll do another one of these again. Stay safe, stay home, protect the NHS, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and hopefully we'll see you all out at schools when all this is over. Thank you, folks. Bye.